Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. I'm your host, Tom Kelly. With me, as always, the core group, Joe Marks,
Good morning, Philadelphia.
James Scorza.
Happy Saturday, everybody.
Saturday, as the Delcoians out here would say. Frank Finnegan's on the way, and Damon Salim is at a graduation in Maryland. So you get our ugly mugs for a little bit, and then we'll try and slide Frank's ugly mug in here when he gets in here.
Yep.
Back in studio, boys.
It's been a bit.
It's been a little while with connectivity issues, me being on call, a lot of crazy stuff going on. But finally back in the studios here, the lovely Edge of Philly Sports Studio.
Yes, sir.
It is the as Joey and I like to call it, the dog days of summer.
Man,
It's
a schnauzer right now.
it's hard enough to get yourself going. For a Philly season that's 162 regular season games long, plus spring training, plus pitchers and catchers. So it's just such a long, drawn out, way to go to get to a baseball playoffs. And then when the Sixers get bumped in the second round for the 758th time,
feels like that.
The Flyers haven't sniffed. I mean, they're not even sniffing the playoffs right now.
They're in the Sixers up.
Norm, good morning.
Norm.
Yeah, he
All
says,
time no
happy
see,
anniversary, TK and Aaron. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody at Deals on Wheels down there. My man Norm should be the governor of PA any day now.
Yeah, that's my vote.
So we got A checking. I don't know who A is, but the Phillies keep losing as usual. Nothing new this year. Absolutely correct. But with the way the Flyers are, and we're only at OTAs right now for the Eagles.
Yep.
So, but there is plenty to talk about. A lot of it'll be a bitch session. It is what it is. It's just, I would say 78% of Philly sports is a bitch session every week anyway. I want to start off with the Phils this week.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of roll right into it.
Even when things are good, are you new in Philly? It's a bitch session, even when it's good.
Absolutely. Who do we blame for the Phillies' start to this season? Since last year, the manager gets bumped, and then all of a sudden they go on this incredible streak. Now this year, you're in relatively the same boat, a little bit better off, but relatively the same boat.
Right.
You got some new faces on the team here, but nobody's really stepping up. Who are we blaming this start on? Is it the skipper?
I don't think so. I mean, I'll start. I don't know if it's necessarily Thompson's fault, to tell you honestly, because obviously it's not been the best of all season for Rob Thompson to be the manager. But I think the one thing that is the problem is that the players that we brought in are not showing up at all. And it's the concerning part that really kind of sticks in my craw a little bit. See Trey Turner struggling after he signed that big mega contract in the offseason, and Taijuan Walker, who I wasn't sold on him when he came here at first, but it's just absolutely atrocious what he's been doing.
Absolutely. Paul Spencer checking in from out of Box Sports. Happy anniversary, TK and Aaron. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, man. Sorry, James. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But what I was saying was, I think it's more that the pitching and the hitting has been man, it's been horrible to watch. And I can't even. I mean, sometimes I would watch the game and I say to myself, do I want to go through this pain every single week and say to myself, do I want to have an aneurysm, whatever you want to call it?
Could be an aneurysm.
Mixture of both.
Yeah,
could be a mixture of both. But
feels like I had that this week.
Yeah. I think everybody's been trying to. I mean, I know for sure I got my Eagles stuff on, so I'm already tuned I'm already tuned into the next season.
I got you. I completely understand.
You know what I'm saying?
Joe, who are you blaming the start for this season on? Frank Finnegan in a building. What's up, Frank? You got you right next to James today, Frank.
Really?
I know.
No,
it's like smelling salts. Just keep you awake.
I blame the players. I honestly blame the starting lineup. And I blame. There is a lot of professionals that are playing for the Phillies right now that aren't playing very professionally, and that's that's where I'm really leading with this is that whether it's fielding, whether it's, like I was saying in the car ride up with James and Joe, is that, I'm not saying quality at bats is in the analytical quality at bats. I'm saying like quality at bats, like when you have a guy that's pitching soft stuff mostly out of the zone and you're swinging, I'm like, look, the guy throws a ghost forkball 40% of the time in the dirt or out of the zone, and you don't take a pitch or two. Like, be a little patient. Let him work himself into trouble.
Right.
Don't put yourself in in a position
Right.
where you're making the mistakes.
Don't make his job easier.
Yeah. And I mean, they made Senga look like freaking
Tom Seaver.
yeah. And I'm just like, dude, he's good. He's not that good.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's how I look at it too.
Frank, good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
Norm
good morning.
checked in and said, Frank, shouldn't you be on a golf course somewhere?
Yeah, I should be. Hi, Norm. How you doing?
Hey, I hit Springfield a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, I'll never play Springfield again.
Nah.
Bad
A
experience.
guy in our foursome put a ball on 18 into Tavola, the restaurant up there.
Oh,
The GM comes out looking at us like this, and my buddy, you probably know Brian Gainley from Marty's, he's a bartender.
Yeah,
He used to
yeah,
be
yeah.
Upper Darby firefighter.
Yeah, I know.
I was with Brian and a couple other guys from Marty. Sorry, guys, I know I'm going over the tangent here.
That's
And,
okay.
yeah, a guy in our foursome put a ball in there, and the GM knows Brian real well. Just comes out and looks at us. He's like, "My ball's in my hand, man. I didn't do that."
No, I had a good week last week. I hit 7 of 12 fairways.
Nice.
Ooh.
Put it on 3 par 3 greens.
Well, I'm getting back out
shot
there.
at 92. I screwed the last 2 holes up, or else I'd have shot mid 80s.
I'm getting back out there, so watch out, folks.
Okay, I got a couple days to play.
All right.
Like group things. So
Keep me in the
yeah,
loop.
absolutely. Listen, I wanted to do I wanted to do Damon respect, so I showed up late
I appreciate that.
There you go.
today.
What frustrates you most about this team right now, Frank?
Well, it's first of all,
This Phillies team. I know there's several teams right now that we could be frustrated with.
right. Yeah,
Let me be specific.
right now. I want to rescind my moniker as master predictor, because I said this team was going to win north of 90 games, and I said they were going back to the World Series. But this team has not recovered from Reese Hoskins getting hurt
Yeah.
and leaving spring training with Ranger and Painter both down. And the problem with it is, like, when you prepare like pulled pork or something in your kitchen and you're washing things up, and there's like, when you're done, there's just like scum in your sink.
Yep.
That's Clintac.
Oh
Ooh.
my God.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Clintac.
Clintac is pulled pork scum.
Okay.
He's left.
That's very specific.
That's
He's-
a good line.
He's left us scum in the minor leagues. And unlike other teams in the league that can just go, you know what, we have a player down there who might be ready, let's bring him up, see what he can do.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Hmm.
And that's Clintac. Clintac left us that legacy. And you only got so many fingers to plug holes in the dam. And they ain't got enough fingers.
Nope. No, they do not.
And it's really sad to say this, and I wish somebody would send Aaron Nola the memo that this is a contract year, and you're supposed to play like it's a contract year, and he's playing like he's already got his contract and he's comfortable. Okay, this just tells me that this man does nothing, zero in the off season to prepare himself for 162 games. And as long as that's going to happen with him, this team is not going to win, because they can't win without a solid guy in the number 2 spot behind Wheeler. They're supposed to be your stoppers, and the only thing they're stopping is the grease from going down the sink. Okay, and it's sad to see it, because they have a wealth of talent, and you can only do so much. And Robbie's really trying to juggle the lineup. It's not working. It's not working because they're missing. I think they're missing the heart and soul of the team, and that's Reese.
That was my one. That was one of my questions. How much is this team missing Haas? It's obviously not his defense, but how much are they missing his bat right now?
No, it's not even his bat. it's obvious
Just
that the,
presence?
it's the obvious that the intangible with Reese Hoskins was he was the heartbeat of the team. As much as Harper is the best talent on the team, I mean, you can't deny this. I mean, we never saw it. We didn't know the impact he has because he doesn't have that forward face
Right.
In the clubhouse, even though he was their union rep and he was their spokesman. We as fans didn't realize the impact of him being missing from the team, and he is obviously missing. It is glaring.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about his, 1 for 18 or 1 for 22 or 3 for 37 bat streaks that he has during the season. I'm talking about what he does with the guys in the clubhouse. And
So
it's obviously an effect.
I'm not directly comparing the two, but it reminds me a little bit of when the Eagles did not re-sign Brian Dawkins and what the
Yes.
defense
Yes.
felt like and looked like the year after.
Yes.
when he was in
Trotter
Denver.
as well. Trotter as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and that drop off was so significant, not just because of the talent,
Yeah.
because of the voices
It's the
in the room.
intangibles. It's the
Yeah.
intangibles.
It's like it's like letting the air out of a balloon.
Right.
And now you're trying to fill that balloon, and there's just not enough.
Air
It's-
to like.
yeah,
There's not enough air.
there's just not enough to fill that clubhouse with, with Reese not being there.
Yeah, I mean, without Reese being there, I mean, I do agree what Frank did say about that because the hardest thing about it too is that it's just bad all around. Like I said in my opening statement, it's just that I mean, Aaron Noah, I I don't know what he does very well, but the only thing that really ticks me off about it is just when he nibbles a lot and he tries to be too cute, and it's just flat out disgraceful what he's been doing. I mean, the Phillies have a lead, and every time I say, "Okay, they have the lead, but when is it ever going to be imploding?"
Has anybody ever seen him get upset on the mound when he throws a bad pitch and gives up a long ball? Or has anybody ever seen him get upset with himself? Because I've seen Wheeler do that. I've
Yeah.
seen Wheeler curse at himself.
Some guys
for-
aren't
for-
like that. I mean, McNabb was one. He'd be giggling on the sidelines after.
Yeah, Jake
you know,
Peavy, that's for sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, but that's I think that's the thing that's missing from Nola.
I want to see that. I
Yeah,
want to
Yeah.
see that. I
Yeah.
think everybody's sitting
Oh,
here.
I
and
agree.
the fan base wants to see that, but some guys are just
Well-
they don't show emotion like that.
Keep
No.
in mind, Nola was a high prospect coming from a really highly touted, school. This is a guy that had clout coming in the door.
he has the talent.
No, he does, but I'm saying I think it's the ego that gets in the way of the talent.
I don't think it's ego. I don't think it's ego at all. I think he just he doesn't apply himself. He doesn't look like a guy that applies himself.
Well, that's what I mean by
He doesn't
ego.
hold
Like,
himself
his
accountable.
ego
No,
gets in the way.
ego would be he would when he does an interview after a game, it's like, "What I'm doing the best I can." I work hard at this. He never says anything like he never defends himself on stuff like that.
No.
He just goes to cliches and actually it's hard to get comments out of him at all. He disappears. He's the invisible man when it comes to
Pitching.
right. And I mean, it's just to me, he doesn't look prepared. He doesn't look like a guy that we see every year coming out of spring training,
Right.
prepared to throw.
Yep.
And evidence of that is he can't get past the fourth inning without getting rocked. He doesn't change. He doesn't alter anything. When he gets through the lineup for the third time, he starts pitching the lineup. They already know what he's going to throw, so he gets eaten alive every single game. And I mean, that tells me that's a guy that doesn't pay attention to his craft, and he's just like McNabb, relying on the talent that he
Talent,
has.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what
Showing his youth.
this is what I'll ask. Do you think that a lot of this it has to do with the guy, like between the ears with the guy,
Absolutely.
or is it the idea that there's a little bit of a World Series hangover?
Oh, I believe that's an effect too.
Yeah.
I, you look at the Phillies schedule now, and they're on pace to be like 72 and 90 if they keep playing at this pace. For them to get to 87 wins, they've got to win 62 games from this point out of 105 left.
Yeah, that's
And
like
I
it's
mean,
gonna
they
be a
have to
long
do what they did.
stretch.
They have to do what they did last year.
Yep.
Now the difference is, last year, Nola and Wheeler started pitching lights out, and
Nola was fourth in Cy Young
right.
voting.
So if those two guys don't turn it around, now that we have Ranger back, it ain't gonna happen.
It'll be a long summer.
It's gonna be a long summer, and,
Yep.
and I mean, bottom line, he's gonna get traded. He should get traded. They should. The Phillies need youth.
Gonna
And
say
I think at this point you have to go 2 steps back to go a step forward. And that means you're going to have to trade a couple guys. And I mean, there's only really one guy worth anything worth trading, and that would be Nola.
can somebody give me something positive from this team? Anything?
I really like the way Stott is playing this year. I really like the way Bohm is playing this year. It shows me.
I'll add one more name, Clemens.
Castellanos.
Castellanos has come around. Now there's
Starting to come around,
positive
too.
on this. There's positives on this team. Castellanos has found his head.
Yes.
And I know that Turner will eventually, because he's just too damn good a ball player. He's gone through a funk, and I think he's trying too hard. Is
Yeah.
what I think. he's
Yeah,
doing.
what do you make of that statement? That because you just brought it up, what do you make of that statement that Rob Thompson said about, like, he has confidence, he's not worried about this team not coming around because there's too much talent, there's too much.
Well, he has to say that.
I get that,
know.
but I mean, what do you make of that? As far as, is that true in your mind, or is it
Not with the way the pitching staff is right now.
No, I'm just talking about the batters.
Oh no, I think they'll come out of it. I think they're going to have a stretch in the summer where they're going to play well. And the good news for them is nobody in the National League is running away with anything. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a seven.
That is
they're-
a bonus.
They're a 7-8 game winning streak from being right back in the middle of this again. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's just. There's not good baseball happening in the National League, and
It's
and
wide open.
you know what? And I knew this coming into the season that it wasn't going to be the same as last year, because everybody has to play everybody, and that effect of playing teams that you don't know even affects the top teams in the league. And as a result, right now though, the Phillies have the least amount of wins in the National League.
More parity in the league.
Yeah, but right now they're the team that has the least amount of wins in the National League.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good. I mean, I can counter that and say, the hardest thing about this too is that, like, trying to keep my composure until football season. It's like going to be a long
98 days.
Yeah, that it can't come fast.
Feels like a lifetime.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's going to fly.
It
It's
feels
going
like
to fly.
Now,
it feels like
now speaking, because we can talk about this, Drek, forever. But speaking about going to fly, the hockey team has given us something to talk about, and we're
Really?
visiting all 4 teams today. It's
okay.
been a while since we've been back in studio. We're happy to be back in the Edge of Philly Sports Studios and doing our thing here. How do we feel about Jonesy taking over as El Presidente? Joe Marks, I'm going to start with you because I mean, we were huge Jonesy fans growing up.
Yep.
What are you thinking about Jonesy taking over as El Capitan?
So I listened to the interview that he had with Cuz
Me
this
too.
past week.
Yes.
And I was really, really intrigued and really motivated after listening to it. And a couple of the things kind of motivated me to feel good about it. And a couple of them are the amount of connections that he has. I don't know many people that can call Wayne Gretzky. I don't know many people that can call Mario Lemieux. I don't know many people that can call Mark Messier and have them on speed dial and get, like, really reputable information from guys like that, or even other general managers, other presidents, other, people that have been in the industry. He's such a likable and knowledgeable guy. But more to that, he's a passionate guy. You heard that, very candidly on the, Angelo show, and when he was doing commentary with
JJ.
JJ. Like, that's the difference. So I'm actually motivated from what he said. Now look, he was honest with everybody. He wasn't
Which you got that you knew you were going to get that
Right.
from him.
he had to put all the parameters out there, right out on the table, and he said, "Look, this is not going to get fixed in a year. This may not get fixed in 2 or 3 years, but there will be progress.
Right. And that
That will happen." So I'm confident, and he's got, I brought this up to James. He's got the
Mhm.
right understanding of how to do it. He said we have to build through prospects. You're not going to
Yes.
hit on all of them, but if you gather enough, you're going to hit on more than not.
Yes.
And so I like that perspective.
Yeah.
And so he gives me a lot of confidence going forward. Now, whether Danny Briere,
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
I want to stick on Jonesy, but we'll go to James. How are you feeling? You were a young guy.
Yeah, I was a young
Were
buck.
you around when Jonesy was a player?
I know as much of his stats. I think I was towards the broadcasting of the Jonesy era when he was with Angelo Cataldi.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I think the only thing that I remember from Jonesy when he didn't get a single point or like in that 5 overtime game, I think he didn't register a point.
Yeah.
But no, I guess
he
it's a
still
good hire.
brings that up.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you were absolutely crushed about last season. How were you feeling?
Yeah, I mean,
sitting here June 3rd.
I'm starting to think of it now. It might be something to. I mean, back when the Flyers were relevant, I always was a big fan of Danny Briere because I think he was Mr. Boyles was his mantra. But with Jonesy though, it's going to be interesting. I did hear his interview with NHL Now. I think it was with EJ Redick and I think it was Jackie Redmond. He was like trying to tell like what he'll bring to the Flyers, and it was a hell of a good interview. I got to admit. And the one thing I did at first, I was a little bit skeptical because I was like, "Oh God, another Flyer." I mean, can we just like
Yep.
get another outsider like a Shell a day off, like I was
Yep.
harping about?
Yep.
But honestly, I think he might. But when you bring, like you just said, with the prospects, it's just like that might probably change my mind and say, you know what, this team could be probably going into the right direction. But I mean, it depends on who you bring in. That's going to be the key.
How about you, Frank?
I hate to be the
No,
jeez.
it's okay because I have a feeling I know what direction you're heading, and that I was going to kind of get into that. So please.
I love Jonesy. I watched him play. He was, sometimes he was the invisible man out there.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
But he always did his job. I love his attitude. I love Danny Briere's attitude. But unless I see a complete raft of firings in the talent evaluation in the Flyers organization, it's the same as it ever was.
There's
You're
already
not wrong.
that's already been a headline that there's already been
No, I mean
some movement.
not some, not some. I'm talking top of the organization to the bottom of the organization. People have to be looking for jobs because obviously for the last decade, the ones that are there are not doing their job.
100%.
Yep.
Okay, and you can't put lipstick on a pig, and Jonesy is lipstick.
Hmm.
And unless they live what he says, it's same as it ever was.
Hmm.
And that means the only way to get talent into this league, into this team, they're going to have to trade Carter Hart. They're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to. I mean, it's the only major that if you put Carter Hart on the market, it would be a bidding war.
It would be like Bobrovsky right now too.
It would be a bidding war for what you could garner for that guy, and
Yep.
not being in the top of the draft kills them, and they have to find a way to get into the top of the draft.
I agree.
And I mean,
Carter Hart's going to do you no good rebuilding.
no, he's not.
No.
He's going to be a waste of talent.
Yep.
Before they get good, he'll be done as a player.
I mean, that was the logic when we got rid of Bobrovsky too,
Right.
because that's when we started to kind of do the Hextall rebuild, and that's when he was starting to bring in like.
But
a
Hextall
defense-
had a history in the organizations that he was with that he did turn them around. The problem is he
Yeah.
came here.
Yeah.
And the problem is there's so much ingrained mid 70s Flyer attitude in that front office.
Sad but true.
Well, one of them was Bill Barber, and he was the mouthpiece of the owner that stepped down. So I mean, like Tom said, I honestly think that there's going to be some people that are going to be fired that have that attitude. But the only concern I have with Jonesy is he doesn't have the 70s type Flyers attitude, but there's still like this tough guy attitude from the 90s from when he
Well,
played.
I like what he said about building the team from the blue line out.
Yeah.
That that tells me that he's thinking fundamentally
Yep.
about the hockey team,
Right.
As opposed to flash in the pan,
Yeah.
get the big scorer. He's talking about what it takes to win in the in the National Hockey League, and that is really really good defense. And I mean, you can have all the scores in the world, but if you're letting biscuits in the basket, you ain't winning.
Right.
Right.
And to touch on what you were saying, Frank, because I was kind of thinking along the same lines. If you've ever watched the movie Hoffa, not the one that just recently came out, but the one with
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
And when he gets voted in as president of the Teamsters,
right.
he writes down several names on a piece of paper and goes over to his right hand man and says, "Tomorrow morning, fire all these guys."
Right.
He
Right.
says, "You fire them all at once. The people that are left are grateful. You do it in piecemeal." He said, they start to worry and then they turn on you.
Yes.
Right.
So if you're going to make that move,
You got to do it all one time.
like a
You have
Band-Aid,
it. You have it.
rip
You have
off.
it. You have a
Right
nice.
off.
You have a nice luncheon in the main office,
Yeah.
and anybody that's got a cold fish on their plate, that's the last meal you get.
Luca Brasi.
Right. Anybody's got a cold fish on a plate.
All right, now Danny
Yep.
Briere. Let's
Hmm.
jump into Danny Briere. Joe is one of our favorite players.
Love it.
Coming up on the team. How are you feeling about him as the GM?
I'm uncertain because I just don't know how he's not an experienced GM. So for me, it's a matter of I don't know if he's going to have enough wherewithal to make the right decisions. And the last thing you need when you're trying to rebuild is to make missteps,
Right.
significant missteps. And like Frank was saying about Carter Hart, I mean, okay, so say in the next month or so we try to move Carter Hart. Danny Briere is going to be the guy that's heading that deal. Okay, but because he's new at being a general manager, will he really have the knowledge to garner the best deal possible? That I don't really know, and I don't have the confidence to feel that way. If this were a general manager that, I felt like brought some cachet to it, like I got to go back to like the '08 Phillies when they had Ruben Amaro Jr., but then they had the other guy that was here that was kind of like the senior advisor because he knew the connections. So even though Ruben was like the rookie general manager, he had someone overseeing his decision.
Well, a
making.
lot of what Ruben was
Clinton,
handed.
I mean,
came
Gillick,
from
Pat Gillick.
yeah, but it came from Ed. A lot of the moves Ed Wade made.
No, but Gillick brought in like Cliff Lee, and he brought in
Mhm.
other guys like Roy Halladay. He brought in significant
He polished it.
acquisitions.
He polished the diamond.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So my feeling is there is no diamond
To polish.
to polish.
Right.
So
They don't even have rocks.
No.
right. So the right now
Got coal in their stock.
maybe you're allowing Danny Briere to possibly get you a diamond, but it's rather do you trust
Is
him
he a
to make
patsy?
right?
He's what I just said. He's the sizzle. He's not the steak.
Not the
I mean,
steak.
I love Danny Briere. If you put Danny Briere in a player development role, I would be thrilled with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
But to put Danny Briere in the general manager's role on a team that desperately needs a general manager who not only knows hockey, but knows the league and knows everybody else in the league and has networked everybody in the league. And I don't know if Danny Briere has done that. And this team doesn't need a Danny Briere as a general manager. They need a guy who has done this job successfully in other organizations or somebody's secondhand man who everybody knows is just as good. Like the way that the Eagles front office gets poached. Their front office gets poached
Yeah.
every year. I mean, like they go through executives on the Eagles like they're changing underwear.
3 more left.
And
This
I mean,
season.
it can't be for no reason. You
Yeah.
know, the other teams are coming after them because these guys are good.
Right.
Okay. So you got to go to the organization who got these guys are good. And this is another thing, the same as it ever was. I mean, they brought Danny Briere in for one reason: the fans love him.
Here's my point, and this is another question that I had lined up. Do you think that the organization looked at it and went, "Okay, going outside the organization didn't work. And then like a panic move, just bring back 2 former Flyers, put one
Well-
in as GM and one in as president.
It only works. It only works if you go outside the organization. If you do the Hoffa thing,
Yeah.
Right?
but they don't do the Hoffa thing.
Nah.
They just bring a guy in who makes us feel good about what they did because we love the guy that they brought in. That's why they brought Barber. That's why they did Holmgren. That's why Bobby Clark ran the team.
Yep.
I mean, it's a treadmill there down there, and they're stuck in a mindset. They just until they break that mindset, I'm just going to think Keith Jones is more the same, and they haven't done it.
Yep.
And I'm of the opinion that with regards to the Danny Briere thing and Keith Jones, I think you look at it like, look how pissed people were about Chuck Fletcher.
Right.
The organization had to figure out, okay, every fan is about to abandon ship. We need to do something to salvage at least something. Because if we don't have a ship to do anything with. Like,
Right.
we have 2 oars in our hand. That's it.
When it comes to the Philadelphia Flyers, they have gotten a pass more than any
Yeah.
other team
In this city.
in this city
Yep.
over the last, I don't know, 50 seasons or so.
Well, I mean, there's a good reason for that.
Right. But they have gotten their fan base is as strong as any fan base in this city and as strong as any fan base in the NHL.
Right.
What they saw over the last couple of seasons was that you finally pushed them too far.
Yep.
And now you're really seeing a drop in ticket sales. You're really seeing a drop in people coming out to the games, supporting the team. Merchandise sales are way down. And now,
Season tickets are off big time.
oh, huge.
So think about it from a business standpoint. How do you get that back on track?
Right,
You
right.
hire a name.
You hire a figurehead.
Yeah.
Let me counter with this. I know I'm a guy that looks at outsiders that could be a big fit here. Like you just said, Tommy, it's like a panic mode. He's thinking, okay, there's that not. I don't even think they even tried to look for like another outsider. They just wanted to look for a name that like will make us sell tickets, basically. And I think the hardest thing about that too is that like there's like somebody out there that I really wanted the Flyers to look after. And like Frank just said, like they have like a player like a GM that has in the league that knows how to run a system. His name is Kevin Sheladeoff. I'll tell you a long story short. I'm a big closet Chicago Wolves fan. The reason why I liked him is because he helped the team not just win 1 title, but 4. He won 4. He won 2 Turner Cup championships back in the IHL, and 2 Calder Cups with the Wolves back from 2000. I think from '98 to 2008. So it was a 10-year span. But everybody's going to ask me what's so different about that. Why would you bring him in? The talent he brought into the table are basically Hall of Famers are now in the AHL. So the one thing I would say that the Flyers need to do, if this doesn't go well the way we expect it, it's like what Frank said. It's going to be like a lipstick on a pig.
You're
It's gonna be
only
really
getting breakdown like this on this show, folks. IHL, AHL talk. Man,
It's-
James is
I mean,
all over
you
that.
look at the Flyers and
Good stuff, James.
they look
Thank
like
you.
they look like a team that's 5 years away from being 5 years away.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Exactly right.
And I mean, that's a real thing with this team because as dark as the Phillies minor league system is, it's non-existent in Flyerland.
See,
No.
so here's how I know, or at least here's why I assume that the Flyers did what they did. Because I see the headline come up on my phone. Keith Jones just announced as a new president of Philadelphia
Right,
Flyers.
yeah.
And I went, oh, great, Jonesy. And then my other side of my brain kicks in and goes, what the hell has he done to earn a spot as a
Yes.
president?
Exactly.
In this league? So they got me. They got my initial
Initially.
reaction. And maybe some people don't think on that other side of the brain. But then I'm like, he
It's
has
like
no resume. He
Well,
has
that-
no resume.
neither
He
does
was in
Briere.
he was in sports talk and commentary.
Neither
for
does
20 years.
Briere.
Right.
What front office is
That-
Danny Briere working?
Exactly.
That
right.
that's why listening to that Cuz interview for me was so important because I thought the same thing. I'm like, all right, that's cute, but what does that accomplish?
Right.
And so I wanted to hear everything of what he wanted to say because I wanted to give him a chance to defend himself in my mind. And if he couldn't, then I was going to rip him apart on this show. But he defended himself. But look, now
Okay.
he defended himself for now.
Sure.
Place was it?
He said
Well, I mean,
everything. He said
every-
everything you expected him to say.
Right.
I mean, I understand his intentions. I mean, his intentions are
Right.
to do it the right way. I don't know, and
Intentions are
nobody else
different.
does, and nobody else knows
Right.
whether he is capable or
Right.
Danny Briere is capable of implementing the intentions that they have.
Intentions are cute, but actions are better.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, you can be a world of good intentions, but you have to show me.
Yeah.
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 You got to show me, and
Yeah.
and that's what these guys are going to have to do. They're going to have to show us, and we've already kind of touched on it. The last thing I'll get before we transition.
I just had a general manager give me a colonoscopy. I need you to do better.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're not going to give it to an intern that does on his first day.
So
What?
you
You wouldn't?
what?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Would you?
look, you know,
Depends how cute's the intern.
you know, a lot of what they did is for ticket sales and
Yeah,
ticket sales
absolutely.
only. And speaking of ticket sales,
Uh-oh.
Phillies fans save big at Sherry's Ticket Towns. Great prices, no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Sports, concerts, theater, and much more. If you use the promo code EOP10, you save 10% off your purchase at www.sherrystickets.com. Tell them the boys at Pat Ave and EOP sent you one over there. When it comes to this Flyers team, we are all going to have to we're going to have to see, like you said, a mass exodus in the front office area, from top to bottom, as Frank said.
Yep.
1, 2, you're going to have to have to see them get younger
Yes.
and tighten it up around the blue line. Like now, Jonesy did say in that interview with Gargano, they want to go young, they want to go strong on the defensive end.
Well,
It sound and Tunis did say he likes the fact that he does have a plan, and he did make his plan known.
well, I mean, you can have a plan until the cows come home. That
Well, I mean, they said it best. What did Mike Tyson say?
Yeah,
everybody's got a plan
plan
until they get punched in the face.
Until they get punched, and then
exactly right.
Then what do you do?
We'll see what happens. With
Yep.
their
But on that Mike Tyson thing, the Philadelphia fans for the Flyers, they haven't been punched in the face. They're that guy on that. Was it Tyson boxing on what was the video game?
Oh, Mike
Tyson's punch out.
Yeah.
Oh, Little Mac.
They're the guy that always gets beat up.
They're Little Mac. They're Glass Jaw Joe.
We're done.
Yeah, it's like
We're done. I'm done.
It's like Mortal
I'm-
Kombat.
I'm-
We're
I'm
like the
done.
weakest.
I just
link.
pointed out to Joey. I
Yeah,
realized you didn't catch that.
I'm done
Sorry.
until they do what they need to do. And right now, I don't see what they need to do. It's the right thing.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I totally agree. So there is a basketball team in this town that just recently got bumped out of the playoffs in the second round for the 758th time.
And
Now, Joe, I'm coming right to you with this because you and I have talked on to tiredness, to endlessness on. All right, well, if you get rid of Doc Rivers, who are you going to bring in? Well, now we got that person. How do you feel about Nick Nurse taking over the helm as the new head coach of Philadelphia 76?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm more than okay with it, and for one main reason, he brings a championship pedigree, and a recent one, not one from like 15 years ago.
What, 08? Or earlier
What,
than that?
Doc?
Yeah, one of the
Doc
stocks.
Was 08, 07,
I
something
think
like
it was
that.
Oh wait, something like that.
But Nick Nurse just won not that long ago, within the last 10 years. And so for me, he's also a guy, and this is where I kind of go with Embiid. Look at what he did to Pascal Siakam's career. Pascal Siakam could have been like a mid-tier, poor man's Chris Bosh. But no, he became a really good player. And I wouldn't call him a superstar, but he's a star. And Nick Nurse had a lot to do with that. Nick Nurse is known for player development. I said this before, and Frank, got on me about it, but yeah, as much as we're still in the Joel Embiid window, we have to start looking ahead to what this team may look like or may begin to look like under the Maxi era. Because one thing is inevitable. Maxi is going to get a max deal when his contract is up. That is an inevitability.
Sure on his way to it.
So
You're
that
earning it.
that is
Yes.
right. No doubt in my mind. He's earned it, but that's an inevitability. So you as a organization are going to have to figure out how can we develop players around Maxi, but still be able to have players in that same vein, but to also be able to complement Joe
Right.
towards the
That's-
end of his career. Because you still have like 3 years with his contract.
Yeah. That's
So that's a significant window. But
Right.
Nick is I mean, look, he stuck us in the heart with that loss in Game 7.
quadruple point.
Yeah, but
That was a dagger.
but I'm curious to know, and I know you probably have this, but I'm curious to know what he's going to do when constructing this roster. Meaning, what's the lineup going to look like? How is the gameplay going to be? What is his rotations going to look like? Stuff like that.
Well, that depends on who they lose
Yeah.
and acquire. Frank, what do you think about Nick Nurse taking over?
I like Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse does something that I've never ever seen Doc do, and Nick Nurse will adjust in game to what the other team is doing. And Doc is like, well, they'll just make them beat us the way they are, and when they do, he has no answer.
Yeah.
Which tells me he's basically a lazy coach who's done coaching and just cashing checks.
I heard a funny quote, and it's true. He's like, maybe people don't realize, but in the medical profession, the nurses are the ones that do all the work. And
Yeah.
the docs just
Yeah.
come in and
Yeah.
give their
I heard that.
professional opinion.
My dad used to say, when does the doctor stop practicing medicine and get it right?
Good point. True that.
So the way I look at it is, you have maybe a 3-year window left with Embiid playing in prime basketball. And people aren't going to like to hear this, but they're going to have to take 2 steps back. They're going to have to become a 6 or 7 seed next year to achieve what they need to achieve. And that means Harden's got to go. They got to trade Tobias and get something for him. And they have to build around this team to Robin and get more athletic players to go along with Maxi. They especially need a true point guard, not the dribble. Oh, I don't have a plan point guard. They need a guy. Who's going to come down. I mean, look, Harden made Embiid's MVP possible this year. He really did. He really facilitated Embiid the way Embiid plays as a finesse center. But Embiid is big enough, strong enough, and athletic enough to change from time to time from finesse to power. And he needs somebody that's going to, I hope Nick Nurse can get this out of him. I hope Nick Nurse can say, hey, Joel, tonight, the guy you're playing, you need to be physical.
Well, that's why I go with the Siakam, because I feel
Yeah.
like Nick Nurse got the best out of Siakam.
Well, I mean, nobody's ever done that with Embiid. Nobody's ever said, look, you've got to do this. They let Embiid do what he does and start 30 feet from the basket with the
Right.
basketball. No. I'm sorry, Joel. When we get the ball, I need you down inside 10 feet right away. And if things aren't working, we're coming with you. You go right to the hoop, draw the foul, go to the line, score the points.
Man,
And I mean,
I'm glad Damon's not here today.
well,
you know he'd be all over that.
oh, I know he's all over that, but I mean, what effect has it had? I mean,
Right.
we've had 4 years in a row of him playing 30 feet from the basket and working down. And what has it gotten us? Exited in the second round.
Yep.
You got to change. I'm sorry, but it's more of the same is not going to get it. It's just going to be more of the same.
Because playoff,
And I mean,
playoff, you could do that during the
he's
season.
got it.
You can't do that in the playoffs, and that's why you make it past the first round because you're a more talented team.
Yes,
And then you get into the second round and you're playing a half-court game with Joel
your
Embiid.
flaws
30
are
feet from the
magnified.
rim.
Your flaws are magnified.
Right.
It's the same thing. It was the same thing in baseball last year. The Phillies got through every level of the playoffs because they wound up with better pitching than the other team had.
Except for Houston.
And they get to Houston,
Yep.
and Houston's got 9 pitchers that are, 7 of them are better than what the Phillies had.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't the Phillies' fault that they lost. It was just they weren't going to overcome those numbers. And I mean, that's the Sixers have to remake their team. They have to become more athletic, and that means they're going to have to tear some walls down. but replace those walls with guys who are, you know, more attitude, definitely better athletically. Because they don't now. They look very slow. And I remember at the beginning of the season, I said, "Boy, this team looks slow."
Yeah,
You know, I
I
mean, it's
remember
one of
those
the first.
shows.
Well, you know, it's one of the first things that I said when the season started. It was like Game 5. I'm like, this team looks like they're playing with bricks tied around their feet. And I mean, they have a lot of old players. You know, so they got to get better. They got to get faster. They got to get more athletic, and they have to. Nurse has to figure out a way to adjust Embiid's game, or Embiid's talent's going to be wasted, and that would be a shame.
I mean, that's the thing. So if you look at like what Nurse has done to progress certain players like Van Vliet and even with Kyrie and Kyle Lowry and Siakam and all these guys, bringing in more youth and as you say, taking 2 steps back to take 1 step forward. I feel like it gives me more confidence that Nick Nurse is here because you may not need. I would love to get him, but you may not need like that high caliber talent, young talent. You may need a guy that's willing to be molded like someone like Maxi, who's willing to be just a sponge, and that may help. Now to go into what you're saying about Embiid, um, I look at like how much progress he made, what Nick Nurse did with Siakam, and I go, if he did that with Siakam, man, Embiid is like 10 times a player, 10 times better of a player than Siakam. He's gonna make Embiid look like freaking, Wilt Chamberlain.
But it
The
also
only problem with Embiid, as much talent as he has, and cause scolded me one day and brought this.
I was listening.
Yeah, he really he
He,
took me to the woodshed that day.
I was giggling like a little
Yeah,
schoolgirl.
he
at
took me to
you.
the woodshed. Even though he wasn't hearing my point because he didn't want to. But he's right. Embiid didn't grow up on the streets, and that chip is missing from his computer.
Look at Butler.
That chip is missing from his computer.
I mean,
And
my man was sleeping in his car.
yeah, no, that's a guy who gets every dollar and goes, this is my dollar.
Yeah, buddy.
You know, where Embiid goes, well, I'm just going to stick this on the stack with the other dollars I have.
Well,
You're saying his dad's a prince or something, right?
Yeah.
keep in mind of something.
You were. I was hearing what both of you were saying, and I don't know for anybody out there listening. Frank calls in fairly and Damon calls in fairly regularly to Gargano's show, and I knew it was you right away.
Yeah. He wasn't having anything.
No,
but
you were both bringing really good points to the table.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, he even said it was an interesting conversation.
Just shutting you down.
Well, he didn't agree with it at all.
No,
he did, and I mean,
and he's like, Frank, I love you, but
yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, keep in mind, Embiid was a third overall pick, and then now look at like where the Heat are, and you talk about Butler. Like the Heat's top 7 scoring players are all undrafted free agents.
it's insane to even think about.
So, like, those are guys that not only, I mean, I'm not saying all of them slept in their car, but those are guys that know how difficult it is, A, to get to this level, and B, how to sustain.
You know what
that level.
You know what the Heats demonstrate to me? The monumental mistake of letting Butler go.
Oh yeah,
Because if you took Butler off the Heat right now, they wouldn't even have made the playoffs.
Yeah, but is that hindsight 2020?
It's really
no, because he played well when he was here.
No,
so
but I'm saying it was Ben Simmons,
no,
Tobias, or Butler,
right?
and you weren't because how Ben Simmons acted. Butler,
but you have to look at who was coaching the team at the time.
Yep, Brett Brown.
Yeah. Okay, and Brett Brown didn't make decisions based on talent evaluation and what the team needed.
Right.
He made decisions based on what he wanted. And he knew Simmons' family, and it was a personal decision. It wasn't a business decision. And he traded Mikal Bridges because it was a personal decision and not a business decision. Okay. Brett Brown, Clintacked this team.
Brett Brown is that pulled pork scum.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I mean, there's no two ways to look at it. I mean, Brett Brown did to this.
We're going to have a segment called "This Week's Pulled Pork Scum."
Yeah,
no, I'm going one step.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? We could do that. Pulled pork
Scum of the week.
Who's the pulled pork scum of the week? Yeah.
I'm gonna go one step further with Brett Brown. He's the gizzard that you pull out of the turkey.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Can't even make gravy with
Does
it.
anybody here want Harden back?
No, not at $200 million.
Joey didn't say no right away, right out of the gate.
It's not a no. It's a hell
It's
no.
a hell no.
I'm
Okay,
not
okay.
even. I'm not even.
look.
I'm not even entertaining his phone calls.
Look,
Like we're not just broken up. Like I
I'm
am
over
like,
you.
I'm not. I'm icing you out.
look. If they can get Harden for 17 million for 2 years and rejectable third year,
They're
Nope.
not going to. They're not going to.
Nope.
no, but
I'm not doing that. Nope. Nope.
but I don't
No
think
thank you.
I don't think they're going to do that. Like I said, I think they should go 2 steps
I
back.
found
Who would you
out-
like to see them replace Harden? Go ahead,
Oh,
Joey.
I got a list.
I got a list.
But I found out all I needed to know about Harden's heart in that post-game press conference after games. I found out all I needed to know, and that was enough for me. And to talk about replacements, we played the GM game last week. There's a couple I like, a couple hometown passionate. I like the Josh Hart idea, just because I feel like he would come home and he's a winner. He's still young. He's a guy that can go off ball and on ball. He's a good distributor and he's a good leader. And so for me, it's a matter of bringing passion back to this team, bringing fight back to this team. Because James Harden didn't have any of that. He'd much rather be in a strip club than on a court. That's just my.
Well, I don't believe that. I believe James Harden likes to play basketball, but James Harden likes to play basketball the way James Harden likes to play basketball.
You know what?
And when the other team defends that in James Harden just goes,
You know what?
I can't play my game, so
We're
I'm gonna
back
play.
in studio. It's time to have a debate
Uh-oh.
because I completely disagree with that. Because Game 7, when you have a star caliber athlete, a star caliber player, I'm not going to call him an athlete, star caliber player like James Harden, and you want to talk about invisible man. The guy didn't show up to the court in the most momentous game of that series, and you're sitting here telling me that you don't think he's not checked out every once in a while when he steps on the court? He is absolutely checked out sometimes when he's on that court.
Joe, he checked out because Boston would not let him do what he wanted to do.
He didn't take that many shots.
They weren't allowing him. They weren't allowing him, Joe.
Okay, but wait. But like guys like Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, all these guys that are star caliber athletes, you telling me defenses didn't try to force their hand?
James
and
Harden.
Wait a second.
James
Wait.
Harden, you just named 3 of the best of all time.
No,
Okay,
I get that, but I'm saying star players.
But you missed
Make-
my point. You missed my initial point. And my initial point was, if taken on its face, Harden is an elite talent in the league. Okay, the difference between a guy like LeBron, a guy like Kobe, a guy like Jordan, and a guy like Harden,
There's no
who
question.
has the potential to be in that top 20 category. The difference is whenever somebody made adjustments on those guys went, all right, you're going to do this, then I'm going to do that.
Yep.
And Harden doesn't do that.
No, that's why he led the league in assists.
Okay,
Well-
when Harden doesn't adjust and he doesn't get his way, he sulks as a player.
and
and
that
that's-
is attitude. That is
Yeah.
attitude, not skill. That is attitude. You just said it right
Yeah,
there.
but that's why he couldn't do it in Game 7 because they weren't allowing him to do it in Game 7.
So
and-
what? You give up?
I'm sorry, but that's the way he plays. This has been his MO his whole career.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
he's known for
understand. I understand that, but you can't tell me that if that's his MO, then that's exactly what my point is. Is that if this is a guy whose attitude is, well, I'm gonna when times get tough, I'm just gonna take my bag and go home.
Yeah, well, that's
I
takes
mean,
his
that's
ball
the
and go
same
home.
thing as saying he would rather be at a strip club than fight to win on a court.
Well, I mean, that let's get back to the all your flaws become exposed in the playoffs. During the regular season, he can get away with that and play well, score well, assist well, facilitate well. But when you get to the playoffs and the talent level on the other side of the court is equal to or better than what you have, he doesn't have the effort to follow through on it.
And look,
it is effort. It is attitude.
And look,
And-
I'm not just blaming James Harden for Game 7. I've already gone on record.
Oh
as
no,
saying
there's
plenty of blame to go around.
tons
But
of blame.
James Harden is the head of that snake in the sense that he's the guy that's ticking down. And I'm still astounded by this. And someone brought this up on WIP this week, and I thought, that's a great point. How do you run offensive sets when you only have 7 seconds left on the shot clock?
Dribble.
But like, how do you do it? I'm asking for anybody.
You
answer?
can't.
Okay, all right.
You can't.
I mean, because that's what
And
we
and
were
that's
doing.
that's not a Harden problem. That's a Doc problem.
Well, it's also a Harden problem because he
No.
did that in Houston too.
No, I know that, but that's where Doc has to go. You used to do this in Houston. We're not doing it here.
Right.
Well, I get
You
that,
know,
but
if you're not down, if you're not
They're
across,
both, they're both culpable.
if you're not across the center line with after your third dribble, then
I'm gonna have Maxi bring.
I'm going to have Maxi bring the ball up, and you're going to stand in the corner. Now, you can't have an offensive set where Maxi is standing in a corner
no,
on this team at all.
no.
You've just taken your most athletic asset and said, you know what, go stand there for a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times in Game 6 and 7 did we see that happening?
And I'll
You know, I mean, I'm sorry, but you can't do that.
I'll channel Damon for a minute. You can also say the same thing about Tobias. You can't just put Tobias in a corner and tell him to stand. He's an athletic guy.
Well,
And so, like, if he has the ability to move towards or around the basket, you have a better chance of getting him better looks. But the problem is when you have James Harden bouncing the ball for 16 seconds, then all of a sudden we're going to run the play. And
the problem with it is, I don't mind them bouncing the ball for 6 seconds, but nobody moves.
Yeah. That's the
Nobody moves. They stand still and they're like, well, okay,
Exactly.
we're waiting for what James is going to do. We're waiting for. I mean, they don't move. There's no motion in the offense. How can you can't win that way? You can't. You're right, Joe. With 7 seconds left on the shot clock, you can't go, okay, let's get in motion now. No. You got to be moving at second 19, 18, 17 to get yourself the open look that they need. And they didn't do that. And Doc never adjusted from that, which tells me Doc was a lazy coach.
Yep.
Okay.
100%. He was just trying to lean on his team's talent.
Yep.
And
he does what
you
he
know,
has been doing for the last 10 years.
exactly right.
And
It's-
I mean, he'll
he's
argue
resting on his resume.
yes, it was
Yes.
almost criminal. And
I don't think Nick Nurse will do that.
Speaking
No.
of criminals,
Uh-oh.
workman compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, and criminal law, our guy David Archerry Esquire. Call now 610-565-0300. It's www.cherryinjurylaw.com.
Can we get a settlement from James Harden for pain and suffering?
Possibly.
I can tell you from experience that David is a very good guy.
There you go. Tell him that the boys over at Pattison Ave EOP sent you. Well, listen, there is one bright spot in this town, even though we're 98 days away from
Can't come fast enough, man.
from kickoff is your Philadelphia Eagles. And I did say we were going to get into every team. You know, we're going to keep it tight today. We're going to, the ship's going to run, smoothly as we possibly can make it. So there's been talks about the Eagles and if they have interest in DeAndre Hopkins or not. I'll start with Frank on this one.
No.
Joe.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you why. I mean, would I love to have DeAndre Hopkins as another offensive weapon, which the Phillies the Eagles are loaded with offensive weapons. And I mean, Hopkins would be, he would be a dagger.
Do you even have enough footballs at that point to go around?
You have plenty of footballs. You don't have enough dollars.
Right.
And those dollars need to be spent
Elsewhere.
Yeah,
And that was the end of my question.
He's a luxury. He is a luxury that they can't afford.
Can't afford.
And don't really need.
Don't really.
Right.
No.
I mean, like he's the shiny toy. He's the Danny Briere. He's the Keith Jones. He's the shiny little lure that the bluefish bite.
Well, you know how he hasn't brought too many shiny lures in yet.
No,
this particular offseason. I mean,
he's
draft picks wise,
He-
DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift, yes, but DeAndre Hopkins is.
I think he's waiting, like he did last year. I think they really only have 2 spots left on this team where improvement would be needed, and that is safety.
Hold on. I'm gonna get into that. Just
Okay,
hold that thought.
but no, Hopkins for me, I'd love to have him, but no.
James,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Frank. I mean, we don't need him. I mean,
no, you always need DeAndre Hopkins.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
we just couldn't.
I mean, it's a pipe dream. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll put him on my fantasy team. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, unless somebody, let's say, for example, like another Reese Hoskins things happens, like God
Right.
forbid,
God forbid,
AJ Brown or Devontae goes down, then absolutely,
in a tragic windmill accident.
yeah, that would then definitely desperate. Like, and the only receivers we have is Greg Ward and Quez Watkins. Then absolutely.
I don't
All
think
right.
Quez is going to be here at the start of the season.
No, I mean that other kid. What's his name? The one we got from the Falcons might beat him out.
Yeah,
Joe,
Well, if I'm putting him on a DraftKings lineup, yeah, I'll
Well,
take
yeah,
him.
okay.
But no,
No,
I'm
okay.
not taking him on this lineup. No,
so
because
everybody's in
it,
lockstep.
my
with this.
feeling is
it's a
this:
shiny toy.
it's not just the money; it's the attitude.
I don't see. I don't worry about anybody coming in here with attitude because there are enough cops in that locker room.
Yeah, but there's a lot of divas too.
Yeah, guess what? Well, divas haven't met Jason Kelsey.
Oh,
Yeah.
I get that.
I
Yeah,
you know,
can I just say, is he the greatest Eagle of all time?
he's one of
He's
them.
the
He's
most
incredible.
likable.
Dude,
I mean, you know me. It's Reggie White, but
I understand, but I'm saying, in personality wise, like that, the draft, the guy's chugging beers in
I
the
know.
crowd.
I've said
he
this.
If we were any of us were football players, that's how
Yeah.
we envision ourselves.
we should
I've
get
said
him
this-
on this podcast one Saturday
I've
morning.
said
That was
this-
so cool.
I've said this before. The mayor's election, mayor race and election is in November.
Right.
He could literally have a write-in and win.
It would win.
Yeah,
hands
yeah.
he would win
down.
hands down.
Single handedly.
And his
He'd be like, "I'm kind of busy in
acceptance
November."
speech. His acceptance speech, he'd be dressed in a mummer's costume.
Yeah, there you go. doing Eagles chant.
Yes.
No, his acceptance speech would be post-game of a game.
Yeah.
Go, "I won.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
as mayor,
As mayor, everybody's
beer-
off on Monday from now on until the season's over.
as mayor, beer will be discounted,
Right.
and all
Yes,
All
Mondays
bars-
are a city
Mondays
holiday.
are a city holiday every Monday until
all
the season's over.
all bars will be open till 3 a.m.
Not just the whole team; it's the whole city.
Absolutely. If you go in the Wawa and do an Eagles chant, you get a free coffee
Right.
Monday morning. Now Nakobe Dean's probably going to start this season.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
He's got the green dot.
love it.
Do you think he's going to flourish in this starting role? James Scores. I know how you feel about this. already.
Of course, I wear the wrong jersey today, but it's all
That's
good.
okay.
But no, I mean, man, when I heard he was going to be like the captain of the defense,
Green
man,
dot.
he's ready for it, man. I mean, last year, as much he didn't show a lot because of the other guy that we
Right.
don't want to bring in. The side's going to make a play. The side's going to be like, going to say, whatever fits your system, man, I'll help you get better at it. I got to be honest with you. I haven't been excited for a linebacker like this probably since Trotter, maybe Hugh Doug. Well, actually, Hugh Doug was a defensive
He was
end.
an end.
Yeah, but maybe the last time I've seen like a very good tight end, a very good linebacker was Axeman.
Probably.
I got to tell you, when you look at the Eagles defense,
Oh,
those 4 guys in the middle bring something to the table that doesn't happen in football
oh man.
until you've been playing together for 3 or 4 years. Well, we have the benefit of those 4 guys
Yes.
playing together for 3 or 4 years. They know what they're thinking. They know what each other's thinking. I mean, you're going to see cohesion. At least I believe you'll see this. I think you're going to see cohesion in the middle of that line like you've never seen before. And it's because those 4 guys have been on the same page for 3 years.
Right.
And that it takes a long time to build that kind of chemistry in a football team. And Howie drafted him. He drafted chemistry.
You know,
And
I'm sorry.
you got to give him a chance for that to play out. When I watched Nakobe Dean play last year, and I paid close attention whenever he was in the game to pay attention to where he was on the field, not where the play was going, where Nakobe was going, as long as he was in, television frame.
Right.
And you know what I noticed about Nakobe Dean?
Always around the
He
ball.
was always around the ball.
Yep.
Always around the ball whenever he was
Yep.
in the game, and he didn't get that many chances. But I'm telling you, every time he was on the field, he was around the ball, and that tells me that kid knows what he's doing.
Yes, sir.
I will tell you this. I made it no secret that I like the linebacker position. I made it no
It's my
secret on
favorite.
the
It's
show.
my favorite position on the field.
Yeah,
So
it's become as
A-
relevant as
a-
the running
and
back.
and I remember like even sitting here pre-draft both this year and the year before saying to you guys, I want a linebacker. I want a linebacker. And Frank kept telling me, it's not going to happen, Joe.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Well, not the first round anyway.
Right. But I mean, technically it did because Nolan Smith was a linebacker, but and he was the last one of the last picks in the first round. But here's my thing about Nakobe. I like him for many different reasons. He's intelligent and he's also got the ear of like 2/3 of your defense. Like that makes a difference. The
Okay.
only reason we just talked about it earlier, the big difference with that Eagles defense when Dawkins and Trotter were on that team was because they had the ears of that defense, of that locker room. The minute that those voices were gone, it was like a rudderless ship. And I feel like this is going to be a great year for the defense. And it's going to be a breakout year for a lot of those players because of that scheme. And I had heard that after rookie minicamp, all 5 of the Bulldogs on the defense got together for personal workouts to work on different communication.
Love it.
Love it.
That's
So
that's
that
cool.
they have signals now that only they know.
Well, they need to share that with the rest.
No,
of the
they
team.
will, but that they understand.
Yeah, well, that's where that esprit de corps comes into place with those guys. They played together for 3 years. They know the language that they talk.
Like if Nakobe comes up and taps Jordan on the right butt cheek, like
Yeah.
Jordan will know what that means.
Right. And I mean, if they play with any of the ability they played in Georgia,
You want willing?
Scary good.
look,
You
look,
want
look,
winning? That's a winning.
I mean, I hate to do the prognostication thing again because taking my beating this
It
year.
happened.
Two for 3 is not bad.
But I look at the beginning of the Eagles' schedule, and I don't see anybody that can stay with us offensively in that schedule. I just don't. I don't think there's a team on the schedule in the first 9 games, other than Dallas, that can present a defensive problem for us.
I don't think, and I don't think the DeAndre Swift signing is getting enough
Which is fine.
notoriety.
Which is more than fine for me.
I mean, he was a top 5 back last year.
Yeah, he was.
Keep in mind of something. So they have,
He gets beat. He gets
in
banged
Detroit.
up. He gets banged up.
but here's where I think
But
that's
that
going to be
Penny
okay.
does too.
So does Penny.
Right.
But this is where I think it's going to be okay, because they get banged up because of how much they were used.
That's right. And I think
Yes.
the way the Eagles
And the
use their
people in
running
front
backs-
of them, too.
Right.
Well, the way the Eagles use their running backs is nobody gets the ball for the whole game.
No,
Right.
running
You
back
know.
by committee.
Right.
He's going to be lucky if he gets 12 carries.
Right.
DeAndre Swift.
You know what I really love about the Eagles, and I mean we all love the Eagles, but Rick Sirianni, everybody in the league hates this guy,
Which I love.
and I love.
I
that.
love that.
I love that.
I
That
do
tells
too.
me that they're like they either hate him because he's cocky, or they hate him because he's good and he's cocky.
It's the
You know,
latter.
It reminds me a
and-
little bit of Buddy Ryan, because a lot of people
you laugh at a guy who's cocky and who's
Yeah,
not
but
good.
there's a big difference between him and Buddy Ryan.
Well, everyone hated Buddy too.
Well, no, but I mean,
Buddy Ryan.
but
was
Buddy
just
Ryan
defense.
only used one side of his head.
Yes.
Nick Sirianni uses both sides of his head.
No, the thing is, if a guy's cocky but he's not good, you laugh at him.
Right.
If a guy's cocky and good, you hate.
You
that
hate, you
motherfucker.
hate him. He's Lenny.
Like
Dykstra.
when I was young.
He was
yeah.
Lenny Dykstra when Lenny Dykstra. He's Lenny Dykstra when he played for the Mets.
Yeah.
He's Lenny Dykstra when he played for the Mets. You hated that guy.
But then when he played,
Not Lenny Dykstra at Dolan's a couple of years ago.
Hang on.
Not
'Cause
Lenny Dykstra now.
we bring up players that
He's
we
Pete
hate.
Rose when he played for the Reds.
We bring up players that we hate, and I know we covered the Phillies, but just a quick blurb. So Scott Rowland is being inducted into the
Yes.
Phillies Wall of Fame.
And said he wasn't coming.
I was going to say, let me counter with that real quick. Let me get this straight. You get inducted to the Phillies Wall of Fame, and you're not even going to show up.
Nope.
Seriously?
No, that's
Well,
about
he
as
didn't
Scott
show up.
Rowland as you boss. That's about as Scott Rowland as it gets.
Because he didn't go for Scott Rowland Day when the Phillies.
That's what I read too.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
like,
get
so
that.
it's right par for course.
I want to know who was behind nominating him for that wall.
Well, you know why
Because
they
that
did
was
it.
balls
But,
up to the
but
wall.
that's a guy that needs to be fired.
You know why they did it?
True.
Because he's going into the MLB
In the
Hall of
Canton?
Fame. Yeah. So they're trying to get a
All right,
headline.
so wait until after he gets in the Hall of Fame,
How much?
and then just put it up. Don't. I mean,
No,
let's,
I was saying next.
let's have
thing-
popcorn day at the
Listen,
stadium and hang.
If we're letting Scott Rowland on the Wall of Fame, the next one up is going to be J.D. Drew.
JD Drew or Billy
Uh,
Wagner.
Or no, Papelbon.
Let's get
That'll
back.
be-
There you go.
That'll be a nice little
Let's get it
reunion.
back
That'll
to
be
the
a great
Eagles.
Oh my God!
Let's get it back to the Eagles to quote Rob Ellis.
Yeah,
do.
please.
Please.
Do you think Cam Jurgens will earn the starting right guard spot this year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for good reason. That kid is going to be a star.
Yeah.
And I'm also a fan that when he transitions to the center role, people are worried that gap is going to be open again, and I don't believe that Howie doesn't see that coming down the
the
road.
kid they drafted late in the rounds,
Right.
Is the guy?
Yeah.
Is the guy because that kid can play.
I'm
So and from what I've heard about that guy, he's a strong guy, even if he's got short arms.
Yeah, he's got T-Rex arm.
you beat me by T-Rex arm. All right, so to get back to where Frank was going, what position would you still like to see the Eagles address on the field?
Safety.
Safety. Probably safety.
Joey?
I'm going safety, but there's another pressing issue,
Hmm.
and it's not sexy.
The punter.
The punter.
No, the tackle for Lane Johnson,
Oh.
What, like his
because
replacement?
yeah, but Lane's not getting any younger, and he's had some nagging injuries the last.
Yeah, that's
2
what I mean.
years.
Like his heir apparent.
Yeah, but like I'm also saying because what if he has another nagging injury
this year. Right.
Then who are you depending on?
Right,
And we've seen when this offensive line even has one guy that's out, how that domino can kind of not collapse everything. Like they don't all go to shit, but it's not the same.
I'm not going to worry about Lane Johnson until he gives up a sack.
No, I agree.
And it's been like,
But I worry about
3 years.
since
I
that's
worry
happened.
about his replacement because
Yeah.
when Jack Driscoll
you know
came
it's
in,
coming. You know it's coming.
because
and-
when Jack Driscoll, that fraud of a freaking player.
Now wait a second. Wait. When Jack Driscoll came in game to replace him, he was not prepared for that. But the next week, Driscoll played pretty sound football. I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't Lane Johnson, but
Who is in the league,
Right.
really?
he played well enough for them to win.
Have you ever heard of a tackle not letting up a sack in 3 years?
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Not even a hurry,
It
right?
doesn't know. He's I mean, Joey Bosa hates Lane Johnson
That's like trying to compare a backup to a Jordan.
because nobody's been able to stop Bosa.
Now-
Nobody has been able to stop Bosa.
The guy that I think is on all our minds to get as far as safety is Buda Baker.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd
that's
love to
the
get-
guy
That would
all-
be ideal.
That's the guy we're all thinking about.
I'd love to get Buda.
So do I.
But I would also be intrigued with Simmons from the Cardinals.
I think Simmons is a byproduct of Buda.
I do too, but
Buda Baker's a
Simmons
sledgehammer.
is a downhill runner.
Is that a Namdi Asamoah situation all
No,
over
no,
again?
no.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
But but see, this is where I worry about Buda, is that it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Because I'm not into like Frank's bringing up. Simmons is a
A byproduct.
byproduct of
He's the
Buddha.
egg.
But is
Buddha's
he
the
the egg
chicken.
or is he the chicken?
No, Buddha's the chicken.
Because Simmons got drafted before Buddha.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean
Alright.
he was a player before Buddha got there.
Last question on what is a wonderful show back here in the Edge of Philly Sports Studios.
Mhm.
Are the Philadelphia Eagles still the best team in the NFC
Yes.
Absolutely.
until proven otherwise?
They're going to start
Nah.
the season 8-1, 9-0.
I could see that too.
No.
Oh no.
I knew you were.
Who's better? Who's better?
Yeah, it was gonna. It's the same thing.
Dallas.
Nah,
fuck out of here, Joe.
You've been hanging
get the
with
hell
Dave.
out of here.
You've been hanging with Dave, haven't
Joe,
you?
where have you been buying your crack rock?
Is Dave sweet?
Yeah, I was just going to
Is
say.
Dave
Li-
pay
li-
rent with you?
listen, my feeling is this: how many times?
Is this the way you apologize to Dave for breaking his balls?
No.
Damn, Dave, we
No.
got to you,
No,
man.
no, no, no.
All right, sorry.
I
Go ahead, Joey. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
brought this
Go ahead.
up. I brought this up the other week,
Oh
and
my
I said
God.
the NFC East has not had a repeat divisional winner in a long time. Number one, and number two, I only see the Eagles and the Cowboys as the top two teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
Let me just make that clear.
I mean, if the 49ers can get someone to throw the football,
they need a quarterback.
that's
Yeah.
what I mean. They
need a
could be
quarterback.
scary.
They got a really good ship with no rudder.
Yeah, and so,
Right.
but here's my feeling: is the Eagles to have back-to-back like insane seasons is really difficult in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And so for me, especially now that they're longer seasons, it's a marathon, not a sprint anymore. So for me, it's a matter. I mean, I have them with 11 wins, and I don't think 11 wins gets them to be the best team in the NFC.
I got them at 13.
I just don't.
I got like 13 or 14.
I'm
here's
at 12, I'm
and
at
here's-
12, maybe
and
13.
here's why. Name another team in the NFC that has returned 10 starters on offense.
Could tell you.
Not even the Cowboys.
Dak Prescott's another year older too.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
and,
he's a
and
turnover
I'm
machine.
telling you that
Giants.
that Giants are not returning 10 starters on offense.
Yes, they
Giants
are.
no, they're not.
They have pretty much their whole offensive line. Daniel Jones,
They
Saquon
just
Barkley.
drafted a new offensive line.
I don't,
Yeah,
wait,
one. But they still have
But
four.
but their offensive line stunk to begin with.
I have a feeling we're going to have to start off next week's show touching back on this subject because there's not enough time in the rest of the day for us to get into.
Well, we got all summer long
Yeah.
to slice and
Yeah,
dice the
we could
Eagles
dissect
up.
that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
But
don't get
I
me
think
wrong.
I think that's the big difference with the Eagles. I think there's so much cohesion on the offense, and this has become such an offensive league that the teams that they play early in the season are not going to be able to keep up with them. And by the time they get to the grind, that 5-game stretch in the middle, they will have padded themselves.
Don't
well.
get me wrong. I think that the Eagles and Jalen Hurts are going to be one of the premier teams.
I
in the
just want to
NFC.
know where you got your star tattoo at on your
Yeah,
body. That's what I'm wondering.
Did you put that in a really bad spot?
Well, tell me, okay, how am I wrong in the sense of the division? Though?
Well, you're not.
No, you're not.
Okay.
I got to give you a hard time.
Yeah.
I understand what
Yeah,
you're saying.
when you invoke the D word,
Yeah.
you're going to get blown.
How much do you think it pains me to say? it?
Understood.
Yeah,
Understood. Yeah, real quick before we get out of here, the ultimate Chicago trip for Philly sports trips to
God, I
Wrigley
would love
Field,
to do that.
the cathedral.
I've
which
been
is
there.
Wrigley
It's
Field.
a great stadium to go.
June 28th through July 1st. If you head on over to phillysportstrips.com, not only the Chicago trip, but they have, I mean, they are, they're booking trips a year out. So you head on over to phillysportstrips.com. Check out everything that they have to offer. Tell them that the guys over here at Pat Ave
Keep rolling them out, Vinny.
and EOP sent you. What Vinny and the crew do over there is second to
And that's probably
none.
a fireworks game too.
Probably would be one of those
Most
games.
likely.
Would definitely be.
And real quick, if you're out in Ridley, stop by my man PJ Dolan's bar. Dolan's is it's one of Delco's every year. It's in the running for best of Delco bar.
It's a great
Got
bar.
Quizzo music, great times, and memorabilia giveaways. Head on over to 24 East Sellers Ave in Ridley Park at Dolan's, and please tell them Pat Ave and EOP sent you. Well, listen, back in studio, first show back. It felt great to be back in studio with you boys again.
Yes,
We
sir.
will, we'll continue to dig into the dog days of summer next week. But for Joe Marks, James Scorza, Frank Finnegan,
And Norm, I'll be on the golf course next week.
Damon Salim, and Joe Scorza. I'm Tom Kelly. It's the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. We're at it.